Baby Boomer Tales. Hello, today's episode is titled My 29 All-Time Favorite Music Songs. Now when I compiled this list, I took it off of some of my playlists and some of the songs that I've been hearing lately. And if I did that list tomorrow, half the songs could be different songs. Music's a funny thing. It can take you to a place where yesterday seems so real and current. And so these are just 29 songs, and the reason there's 29 of them is my legal pad here has 29 lines. Once I ran out of lines, I figured that was probably enough to fill up 15 minutes. Now I will try to do this in 15 minutes. So let me get started. My number one song on the list is Different Drum by Linda Ronstadt and the Stone Poneys. It was released in 1967. I was in high school, and I immediately fell in love with Linda Ronstadt. Followed her throughout her career. She had a voice like no other. One of the best female voices I have ever heard. She was just amazing. The first song I ever heard from her is one of my favorite songs of all time, Different Drum. All these songs are in no particular order. If they're my number one song or by date, there's no order to them. The next one is In My Life, a tune off the Rubber Soul album from 1965 by the Beatles. This song touches me. There are places I remember, people I remember. Some are gone, some remain. Remember all that? What a wonderful, wonderful song. Probably my all-time Beatles favorite song. And the Beatles were one of my all-time favorite groups. My next song is Unchained Melody by the Righteous Brothers. It was released in 1965. And this song, at my youngest daughter's wedding, the father-daughter dance was to Unchained Melody and Stranger on the Shore by Acker Bilk, released in 1961. Those two songs my daughter and I danced to. She gave me the privilege of choosing the music for that dance. And The Stranger on the Shore, I kept hearing it on the radio every once in a while. I always loved it. It was a clarinet, if you're familiar with it, a clarinet solo type song. And I couldn't figure out what the name of it was. I couldn't. I looked and tried to figure it out. There's some guy called Mr. Music I found on the internet, and I wrote him an email, and I wrote in it, do you know by chance the title of this song? It's a clarinet, and I wrote down dum 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 to how I thought the cadence of the song went. And he wrote me back, kind enough to write me back and said, well, I'm not really sure through email. It sounds like it could be Stranger on the Shore by Acker Bilk. And so I Googled that and found it and played it, and sure enough, that was it. And we were blessed enough to dance to that and Unchained Melody at my daughter's wedding. One of my most favorite fun songs is Sister Golden Hair, released in 1975 by America. That song always makes me smile. Brown Eyed Girl by Van Morrison, released in 1967, tripped me out. Making love in the green grass behind the stadium. My 17-year-old mind could only imagine. What a great song. My favorite by Van Morrison, for sure. The next two are a couple Fleetwood Mac songs, both off the same album, Fleetwood Mac, released in 1975. First one is Over My Head. Christine McVie sang it. Next one was Landslide, where Stevie Nicks sang that. What a dynamic duo of female musicians Fleetwood Mac had. Let me change it up just a little bit, because this isn't all pop and rock. Grandpa, Tell Me About the Good Old Days, released in 1986 by the Judds. I kind of put myself in that place during that song. Things were simpler then, in the good old days. A song I just discovered in the last few years, was out since 1980, recorded by Blondie, but the song was first released in the 1930s, and that is "The Tide Is High." Blondie did it to a Caribbean type reggae beat and fashion, and it's wonderful. Philip Phillips, 2012, "Home." I believe the best song they ever wrote on American Idol for a winner. One that takes me to my dad and my family every time I hear it. I get a little misty-eyed too. It was made in 1981 by Dan Fogelberg, called "The Leader of the Band." The leader of the band is Dad. John Cougar Mellencamp. I don't know if he was going by Cougar in 1987 when this was released, but "Cherry Bomb." He always had that style that you could tell it was him. It didn't matter what you're listening to, where you're at. John Cougar Mellencamp song came on, you knew it was him. One that was just recently released by Alan Jackson, "The Older I Get." Classic song if you're my age. I wouldn't take a drink from the fountain of youth either. It's all been worth it. It's all been worth it. Another one that's fairly recent, 2010, by Adele, "Rolling in the Deep." I just love that. I remember the first time I heard it, I was in a bistro-type restaurant, and it came on, and we were sitting in a corner. It must have been the acoustics. I thought everyone was singing along with that. I turned around and looked, and it looked like people singing along with that song, and I just thought it was the greatest song in the world. And then my wife told me it was kind of a revenge song. No, it's not. This is we're rolling in the deep. So I got hold of the lyrics, because sometimes I don't hear lyrics quite right. I don't care. I still love it. By Adele, "Rolling in the Deep." Our last vacation, we went through Amarillo, Texas, all the way there. I was singing to myself, "Amarillo by Morning." George Strait released it in 1982. Terry Stafford had a version of it earlier. I'm not sure who wrote it. My pick for this top 29 is George Strait version. Israel Kamakawiwo, or Izzy, Hawaiian, "Somewhere Over the Rainbow" / "What a Wonderful World," released in 1990. What a tragedy that he didn't live very long. What a wonderful song. What a wonderful way to merge two songs together. What a genius way to just play it on a ukulele, just him and the uke. I don't care if I can say his name correctly or not. He has endeared himself to me forever. The Eagles, "Peaceful Easy Feeling," 1972. "I want to sleep with you in the desert tonight, with a million stars all around." What a great lyric. Almost as great as "I'm Standing on a Corner in Winslow, Arizona." "Take It Easy" by the Eagles. Same year, same album, I believe. We stood on the corner in Winslow, Arizona. I think I talked about it in a past podcast. Went to Winslow, Arizona. I had to stop there. In fact, we passed the exit, and I went back 15 miles. I wanted to stand there and get my picture taken with Jackson Browne and Glenn Frey. Or statues of them, anyway. "A Girl, My Lord," in a flatbed Ford. Now, that corner is a very busy place, with people my age stand in line and take pictures with these statues, and on that corner, I always had that "Girl, My Lord," in a flatbed Ford. The flatbed Ford being kind of like these Kansas kids have, and no stock racks or anything. And the girl I always kind of had imagined kind of like that girl in the movie Castaway, where at the final scene, Tom Hanks, she stops and asks him if he's lost, if he needs any help. She's in an old pickup truck. Then she drives off, and he looks one way and looks back the other way, the way she came. He had delivered a package to her, if you remember that movie. Well, the way they promote it there in Winslow is the flatbed Ford had stock racks on it, and the girl driving it was blonde. And I always had it pictured with no stock racks and a brunette. Go figure. I'll go with that one in my mind. "Taking It Easy" by the Eagles. "You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma," 1981. David Frizzell and Shelley West. I don't know why she went to LA and didn't just stay there in Oklahoma. Now, if you think the other way, that you don't know why that farm boy would stay in Oklahoma and not go to LA, I guess we all have a different take on situations. Great country song. The Beach Boys, and this is the first of two I wrote down on them. God Only Knows. God only knows how much I love you. The way the Beach Boys harmonize and put all that stuff together is just nothing short of amazing. And then, in my opinion, their all-time classic of all time, California Girls, released in 1965. The Midwest Farmer's Daughters, an oldie but a goodie, 1961. This is about the time I was discovering music. The Lion Sleeps Tonight by the Tokens. I didn't know people could sing in such a falsetto. I just thought that was the guy's voice. Maybe it was. The Eagles again, Desperado. You know, I used to go kind of through what that guy on that Seinfeld episode, that song would come on and I'd kind of trip out. Don't you draw the Queen of Diamonds, boy. She'll beat you if she's able. You know, the Queen of Hearts is always your best bet. Well, I've married the Queen of Hearts, and I was a desperado till I found her, or she found me. I was too numb and spaced out, and she rescued me from that desperado life. Listen to the Music by the Doobie Brothers, 1972. Now, I never really liked the Doobie Brothers. My good friend Dave always seemed to play the Doobie Brothers. Later on in life, this song kind of became the theme song of Branson, Missouri, and they played it a lot on advertising, and I grew to love it. And now I just want to dance when I hear that song. Thanks, Dave. It's a great song. Listen to the Music. Another old one by some old people that are before the hippies. I always thought they were beatniks. Peter, Paul, and Mary. 1963, Puff the Magic Dragon. About a young boy growing up. Tough stuff, that growing up. Tough on your magic dragon. 1964, Have I the Right? I shared a video of this on our Facebook page. The Honeycombs, the leaders of them was a brother and sister, and the sister was the drummer of the group, and she was a good drummer, and it was amazing. Their video is great. If you get a chance, YouTube that and watch Have I the Right. The best one, I believe, is the black and white one, right off of the 45. 1999, they made a movie of this that really touched me in a special place in my heart. I Can Only Imagine by Mercy Me. Listen to the lyrics of that if you get a chance. Just shut yourself where you can understand the lyrics. And the last one, the one that one time I wanted to make for our theme song of this podcast, but copyright licenses would have cost way too much for me. And that's Take Me Home Country Roads by John Denver, 1971. I read a little history about this the other day, and Bill Danoff and Taffy Nivert, who wrote the song originally, was going to sell it to Johnny Cash. And something happened with Denver. I mean, he was friends and acquaintances and maybe toured with Danoff and Nivert. And he breaks his thumb. John Denver does. He has to go to an emergency room. And he goes back to their place saying, oh, you know, my thumb is broken. Anyway, we're working on the song and telling them that they were going to sell it to Johnny Cash. And they started fooling around with it and rewriting it. And next thing you know, John Denver records it. An all-time classic. Just ask the state of West Virginia. Well, that's probably about as much time as I have for this. It's been fun, and maybe someday I'll do this again. I bet a half of these songs will be different, and I might have a different take on the ones that I do again. Music's a wonderful thing. I don't know anybody that doesn't like music. We all like different types and different styles. I believe my music's the best, as you probably should believe yours is. But I do know one thing. I'll never ever give in to the belief that my generation made the best music ever. That's just my take on it. Be kind to everyone. I'll talk to you next week.